This public hearing is now called to order at 4 minutes past 6 on November 24 of 2020. This hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of the wetlands as most recently amended. Notice of the time and place of this hearing, this meeting was posted in the town hall. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. Okay. So first order of business is to approve the minutes of the November 10 meeting. I know Joanne sent those out. I was really picky about a couple of things and she made those revisions. Thank you, Joanne. So anybody would like to make a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Do we have a second?
Second.
From Paul. Any further discussion from anyone? Any changes to suggest? If not, I'll do a roll call. Richard, how do you vote?
I wasn't present at that last one. Can I vote on it still, or? If
you've read the minutes, yes. If not,
yeah, I did. Yeah. So yes, I approve.
Thank you, Paul. Is that a yes from you?
It's a yes. Approve as presented.
Brian?
Yes.
Evelyn?
Boulay, yes.
Okay. Everett?
Yes.
We have figured out a way to make in-person work sort of the preferred way.
So, Everett, how do you vote on the minutes?
Yes.
I barely hear you. So that's unanimous.
You said yes.
Yeah, like I said, it was rather faint. So we have meeting mail. Joanne, do you know if we got any mail into the office?
I did not see anything.
Okay, there's nothing new. There's no old business. There are no open hearings or open meetings from open filings from previous meetings. So there's nothing there. There is a new item, but I'm going to wait for Marilee to join us on that one so we can move on to the discussion topics. So why don't we start with the topic of hunting on town conservation property. Ryan, if you'd like, I can turn the floor over to you. And if I have sharing privileges, and let's see if I do, I can pull up the PDF that you gave us. Do you want me to do that?
Yes, please.
Sure. Okay, so the floor is yours.
All right, so I came up with this document to pretty much post on the town website or whatever, on the conservation website and or both, to notify the public, basically. Personally, I don't think we should advertise hunting on Acushnet conservation land, but I obviously want to be able to do it. So this is what I came up with. And basically, because of the fact, a wise man told me to search neighboring towns and get some info from them and see what they have to say about the subject of hunting on conservation land. And I first contacted Rochester, and I talked to the conservation agent there, Laurel. She said that Rochester follows the state guidelines, which right in front of you, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 58. No person shall discharge a firearm, release an arrow upon any state or hard surfaced highway or within 150 feet of such highway, or possess a loaded firearm, or hunt by any means on the land of another within 500 feet of any dwelling in use, except by authorized by the occupant thereof. So that's pretty much state law. And then also public land, use of land, Chapter 21, Section 17C. It's the recreational use statute, which affords any owner which allows the public to use their land for recreation at no charge, relief from liability. So basically, if somebody's walking down a bike trail or a path in the woods or whatever it may be, if the town owns it, they can't sue because the town is not charging a fee. And that's pretty much how it works in every town in Mass. anywhere that hunting is allowed. And that's pretty much what Rochester follows. I spoke with Laurel, and she said basically, you know, they promote it, they encourage it, they don't advertise it, which, you know, is a good thing. I don't think it should be advertised like, hey, come here and hunt, but just it should be accepted because it's land use that everybody gets to do. She was very, I don't know, she offered her, you know, her best wishes, and she noted that she's an Acushnet resident and she's all for it. So that was Rochester. And then I contacted Mattapoisett. I talked to Elizabeth Leinhold. She stated that Massachusetts, that Mattapoisett didn't have any regulations or bylaws prohibiting hunting on town-owned conservation land, or any land for that matter in town. And they followed Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 58, basically, which the state sets that law. And she also noted that many of her commissioners were hunters as well. Fairhaven I contacted, and I wasn't able to speak with the conservation agent, but I did get to speak with the chairman of the Conservation Commission, and he stated that Fairhaven has a bylaw in town, and in that bylaw there was no regulations or anything about not being able to hunt town-owned land. So this is what I came up with. Basically, if everybody in the neighboring towns are using what the state comes up with, this is pretty straightforward. I forwarded it to everybody, and it's on the screen. There's links there to all the regulations, and the town has no liability whatsoever. Mary Lee's not here to attest, but 2 years ago I contacted her on this issue, and she told me that it was a liability to the town and that it was a direct conflict with hikers, dog walkers, and geocachers. And there's nothing on the books in town that says you cannot hunt. It was a unilateral decision by the previous 2 or 3 town administrators ago. I don't know if that was on his agenda or what the case may be. But again, there's nothing in Acushnet's town bylaw that says you cannot hunt on their land. There's nothing in writing. There's no minutes that have been provided to me because I've asked. And that's pretty much where we're at now. I just feel like it's open space and it should be open for everybody. Everybody in town pays a CPA tax, and that goes to preservation and projects on these conservation lands, like down at the Riverview Park there. They just got funds from the CPA to put in a boat launch, and they're doing all kinds of work over there. That's conservation land. Obviously you can't hunt it because it's within 500 feet of a dwelling, and then obviously there's no woods there, but many of the properties that the town list as conservation land on the open space there's no trails, and they are 100% huntable because they are within these standards on your screen set forth by the state.
Thank you, Ryan. Anybody else on the commission with questions or comments for Ryan?
I want to comment, I guess. And maybe I'll have some questions during my comments, but.
Please, Paul.
What's that?
Go for it. The floor is yours.
So I'll say, but I didn't have an opinion last time we met, and I'm still developing an opinion. Because right now, legally, hunters can hunt on this land. So that's true, right, Ryan?
Well, technically, I would say yes, because there's nothing in writing other than a little plastic sign that says no hunting. Mary Lee had a big sign put up down Lantern Lane, but other than that, nothing's posted and nothing is written in law by the town. I've set foot on almost all of these properties. I've found stands. I'm not going to dime the people out. You know, I just know that you can't hunt it because I asked Mary Lee personally after I was told you couldn't hunt it. And that's, I'm going by her word, but that's why I want to change it. And I want to do it legitimately and just keep it the way it is. We don't need to have anything in writing. Just make it the way it is now, that you can just hunt it, because there's nothing in writing now that says you can't.
Yeah, I'm a part of me says I don't want to open it up because it's open already, but I like the way it is, that if you want to hunt, you know, there is somebody in town that will always let you hunt on their property. And technically on conservation land, you can. And how are we going to regulate who hunts on this conservation land? And
well,
are we another? Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, you technically can't, because Mary Lee said that the town administrator said that you can't. But like I said,
the laws clearly state that you can.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. Mary Lee's not here to attest, but apparently former town administrator Alan Catuno, I think his name was, said that it was a liability to the town and that in Catino and you can't.
Yeah. So, and again, I think, I don't know if we're knee jerking. I mean, okay, 2016, there was a high number of deer accidents caused related to deer running into the street. Now, does that mean we have to look at this again and be more favorable to hunting in our town? I don't think that constitutes this much attention.
I don't look at it as
for that reason. If it's for that reason,
I don't look at it as an advertisement to say, hey, come hunt Acushnet. Just allow it and let the open space be what it's intended for all users of open space, for all people that enjoy that open space. It's 3 months out of the year. It's 76 days, not including Sunday. It's posted. We can clearly post it, and it can be. It's pretty much a known fact in town. I mean, this is a farm town that we live in. It's the right to farm. It's basically farming off the land. You're using resources that are given to us, and most of these properties are given to us by the state or funded by the state because of hunters. If the land that's being given to us on 88 Wing Road, the big stamp at the top of that page that the land that we're going to be receiving for conservation says Mass Fish and Wildlife. That's paid for by hunters and outdoorsmen that purchase their licenses and tags and all that other stuff. So most of these lands are given to us, by the way, the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. So to not allow somebody that contributes to that fund every year to use the property as well, it's a bias, and you know, it's excluding. It's not right.
So Ryan, what are we're looking for clarification? Is that what it is, or?
All it needs to be is a head nod, pretty much. Like, okay, yeah, like like I said, this doesn't need to be something that, you know, is advertised like, hey, come hunt Acushnet. It's just allow it to happen. You know, like 3 months out of the year, there's going to be hunters on property. I mean, whether it be if you any advertisement, just a note or a sign at the walking trail of the property that says, hey, just be aware, hunting season is, the last 3 months of the year.
Yep.
I'd like to put a comment in.
Yeah, I see this as a clarification, a codification, and a removal of ambiguity based on statements from a past town administrator that, based on what's in print in front of us, we're not actually based in fact.
Right.
And if, we got Mass General Law right there telling us, if people come onto public land recreational land, and they're not being charged to go on there, then there really isn't any liability. So that's, really, so that's what this is, this is about. And, it's just a chance to clear this up and put us in print and being in line with surrounding towns. So,
Makes sense.
I have something I'd like to add to the conversation, if you can hear me.
please, Everett, you might have to turn up your volume a little bit, please.
Okay, I think I'm as high as I can get right now.
Okay.
Going offline. I'll try to talk really loud. How's
Okay.
Okay, who's speaking? Am I speaking?
You are.
Okay. First of all, I have nothing against harvesting deer and game off of public land. So my comments would be that we really should get on board, if we're going to do this, go to the Board of Health, because deer are more of a public health issue with Lyme disease and babesiosis and all the other nifty things that they carry. As far as we should get them on board with us, and we should go to the selectmen and get the Board of Selectmen on board. I don't think that just because we're the Conservation Commission, we can say, all right, we're changing policy. This has been the policy. We're changing it because we're the Conservation Commission. I think we should have those other two boards on with us, in agreement with us. And like I said, it's a public health issue. Car accident is public health. So is getting Lyme disease. And like I said, all the other nifty things that ticks can give you. There is also, we're only responsible for our town-owned property. Things like the land that Buzzards Bay Coalition, land for Haven and Acushnet Land Trust, I don't think we have any say on what they allow on their property.
Right. And I agree with you, Everett. And I'm okay with going in front of the selectmen and presenting this if I have to. And to piggyback on what you just said about Buzzards Bay Coalition and the Fairhaven Acushnet Land Preservation, I actually contacted them, and I had spoke with them, and again, they share the same sentiment. They don't advertise hunting on their property. It is welcomed and accepted. I asked if there had been any complaints or issues with hunters, and she said over the years there's been 2 complaints. One was that a stand, it was actually a ground blind, was left up for multiple years, and it was left in the same spot, and somebody had complained about it, that it it was just kind of withering away there, and it was basically debris. And the other complaint, which I was kind of aggravated about, but I guess a hunter had left the entrails of a deer. They gutted the deer, and it was just off the main trail. It was visible, which but considering all the years that hunting has been going on in those properties, those were the only 2 complaints, which
that's a good thing to know. I'm glad to hear that. And
right.
I do know that some hunters don't do things right. I've been involved with the state for a long time at the state forest in Freetown, and I've run into gut piles on the side of the trail where they definitely shouldn't be unburied,
right,
laying on top of the ground. So that's just a bad hunter.
That is,
and that's like anything else. You get one bad apple spoils the whole bunch, And no, I have no problem with hunters. I'm friends with lots and lots of hunters, even though I'm not one myself. I just wanted to make sure that before we say, when you sent that paper with Haven Acushnet Land Trust and Buzzards Bay, that they did allow it before, we happened to mention in public that there was an allowed activity on their properties.
Right.
I'm not even sure how much of a role the Conservation Commission has on this topic. I think Ryan can go forward as a town resident.
I think he has the backing of the board, and he has the backing of the health Board of Health and the selectmen, then it's going to be a wide open okey dokey thing to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think if, you know, like I said, it's open space. We all enjoy the outdoors, and there's nothing in writing, but having the backing of this commission, I think it would, you know, do numbers, and I think it would help.
Yeah. Yeah, and if there's any board in town that should bring this forward, it's us. So I'm going to propose, you know, that the next step would be that we, I don't know if we need to do any more formatting with what Ryan presented. I'm happy to do that. But out of courtesy to other boards in town and for, you know, transparency and all those things, we certainly try to, you know, we'll send this to the Board of Health if they want us to appear at a meeting. Ryan, if you're willing to do that, since, you know, I don't want to be your spokesperson. You're certainly eloquent on this and better versed. That'd be cool. And then we can, you know, present it to the selectmen, and, you know, they may ask that we, you know, because they're going to want to run it by town council anyway, just because
Right.
CYA. And that's fine, you know, and they'll mention it to town administrator. So, so if you're okay with that, you know, I'll take what you sent. I'll format it slightly differently, not very much so, and then I'll send it back to you. And, you know, do you want me to attend to scheduling the Board of Health, or do you want to do that in with selectmen too?
I'll do it. No problem.
Okay.
If you want to come, that's great too.
Yeah, if I'm available.
If you're available.
Yep.
I'll be there to back you up if you want me.
Thanks, Everett.
That's what I was going to suggest. Maybe we should all go and back him up.
Okay. Yeah, if we're available, sure. I'm sure they're public meetings, so
Yep.
like they want to exclude us from tuning in.
What do we need for numbers, Bob? Or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Is it worth Ryan getting a petition or something?
No, but I think trying to figure out how to word this. You know, once I take this document, I'll send it out to all of you. And if how about this? I'll entertain a motion that the Conservation Commission move forward with codified language, how about move forward with language that clarifies the process of hunting on conservation land. Joanne, if you're writing that down, could you read that back to me?
Let's see, conservation move forward with language that clarifies the process of hunting on conservation land.
Ryan, does that sound right to you? Is that the
Bingo.
way you want to hear it?
Yeah, that sounds good.
And Ryan, I think you're very passionate about this, and I think you'd be great presenting this also.
Yeah,
You have my backing and all of our backings, I'm sure.
Thanks,
Ryan, do you
Evelyn.
want to make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion, Bob.
I'll
Do
second
I
it.
have a second? Thank you, Evelyn. Any further discussion? Richard, how do you vote?
Yes.
Paul?
Move it forward.
Okay. Ryan, I know you're a yes. Evelyn, I know you're a yes. Everett?
Yes.
So that's unanimous. Okay. So, and I think having that vote taken also helps with this process.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Ryan, any further words on this? We good?
No, I appreciate the help, and I really think it's a good thing because it includes everybody. You know, everybody can the land that the town owns, and
Yeah.
it's definitely going to cut down on the overpopulation, and it's good.
Ma, you want to vote?
Thank you on that. Next topic, Paul.
Mom says yes.
Paul, this is going to go over to you. Do you want to discuss more wetlands bylaw?
Yeah, I did a little bit of work, nothing crazy. I do have the minutes from the last time, which we never really I want to try to use that as a starting point. So I'll just read them off.
Okay.
To everybody. But we did review the first two sections on one of those meetings about a month ago or so. It was actually September 15th. So it was a couple of months ago. There were some open issues, and this was just worded from your write-up, Bob, that you sent me afterwards. There was some clarification on note 3. That's kind of where we ended up with intermittent streams, brooks, and creeks. And did we want to include that general term, or did we want to actually call these areas out? So, and the rough draft that you sent me, Bob, did not call them out specifically. We left it as a general, just calling, just like it is in the MACC guideline draft. So is that, do you want me to review the whole thing, or are we okay with leaving it as such without calling out such waterways in Acushnet, such as Deep Brook? That was a topic. That was one of the examples that were mentioned.
Well, Paul, my question for you is, so Merrilee sent about 24 hours ago some info in this subject line, is some info on rivers and perennial versus intermittent streams.
Yeah.
I don't know if you wanted to review that before we move on with the language you were just talking about, because there's actually a fair amount to read.
Yeah, and it ties in a little bit, because it is about defining rivers and streams.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's something that should be read between now and the next meeting, and we revisit this then, unless you really want to.
I mean, it does have the definition of a river.
Yeah.
And there's also it clarifies the definition of a stream and how it's used in the Massachusetts chapter.
Yeah. And the perennial and intermittent and all that.
So it is quite a bit of language there.
Bob and Paul,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, could I read that? Can that be sent to me?
You should have received that email unless you're talking about the language Paul has in front of him from a past meeting, because you should have all this.
Okay. Okay. All right. So maybe I didn't review that, so I can go back like 2 weeks. I'll definitely look for it. I'll find it.
Which
Are you
looking at 2 weeks? Pardon?
So there was an email that Merrilee sent yesterday at about 2 in the
I got that.
Okay. But there is a previous email that I sent, and it's been at least 2 weeks.
Okay. I'll have it. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't mean to not pay attention to that thoroughly.
No, if you can't find it, Evan, let one of us know. I can certainly forward it to you.
Yeah, we got it all in our email. We can send it.
Hey, just for the heck of it, you want to send it, and I'll make it my bedtime reading, because I don't have a book to read. I actually finished it last evening. About Spain.
Well, if you want to fall asleep, that's the kind of stuff to read.
Yeah.
Thank you. whoever. Thank you very much, especially
Yep.
Chair Paul.
So your suggestion is we'll wait until everybody reviews the language there. That may help decide whether how we want to word note 3 on the jurisdiction portion of the guidelines.
Yeah, and I think the other decision that has to be made too is, do we want to have a bylaw that we're going to bring up in front of town meeting for them to vote on? Or are we going to set standards that we're going to vote on
Every minute in this country.
and stick with that for now?
Well, we've been teeter-totting on that topic throughout the whole time. And
Right.
what's that?
Right, correct.
So I was a little
I agree.
If we have the jurisdiction and we can do it, can we do it, Bob?
In what? Just setting standards?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
We wouldn't be the
I'd
first town
say,
to do that.
do it.
You know, and the other possibility is we set standards, we vote on them, we accept them as a commission.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we start working on our own bylaws and eventually bring that up in front of a town meeting.
It sounds excellent. And we have you.
Well, we have all of us.
Yes, I know, but you're a hell of a leader.
Well, thank you. It's because I'm still only drinking orange juice.
You're funny. You're funny.
Looks on everything. Paul, so what do you want to do next? This is your subcommittee. How do you want to proceed?
So what you're proposing, Mr. Chairman, is that we short term do the standards to give us some time to review the bylaws and eventually
We want to
eventually get the bylaws straightened out and ready to present.
Yes.
I like that idea.
Okay. So my next question is, do you want to be the one that drafts the standards?
So let me ask the commission this. There was 2 standards that come to mind that I heard from the commission about. You know, the first intention of all this discussion was, 1, changing the no work zone to be less than 100 feet than it is now.
No activity zone. Typically, we ask 25 feet from the wetland line. That's something we ask for, and most folks usually follow through on it. So that's the kind of thing, if we wanted to write a standard that says that, we have it in writing, yeah.
Even though we ask for it, there are occasions where we don't get it.
Correct, but if we ask for it and they agree to it and it goes into the plans and they don't follow along, then they're in violation of their plans.
So when do they accept those standards? This is in the beginning during the RDA?
It's during a hearing, right? And typically the engineers are going to put that in there anyway, because they also want to protect their resource.
Because they'll see our standards posted on the website.
Mm-hmm. And typically the engineers come to us with some form of a no activity zone anyway, even though we don't have this in writing yet, but they're just so used to working with us that's how they bring things to us.
Yeah, so that was one of them. So make that the first standard, the no activity zone, to be 25 feet.
If we want that, yeah. And I say yes to that, because that's what we've been doing anyway.
Bob and Paul, what is the easiest solution to this for all of us to do the right thing?
Wetland standards.
Okay, thank you for answering that.
Mm-hmm.
What was that, Bob?
Wetland standards are easier because we can vote on them. Doesn't have to go to town meeting.
Yeah, so Evelyn, there was a paper that Bob wrote out too. I'm not sure if you got that one.
Yep.
You did?
Yep.
The wetland standards and wetland bylaws, and he kind of set up what the current situation for Acushnet and the reason for both?
I get you. Sometimes, I don't know how to say this politically correct, but it makes for good bedtime reading.
Well, that wasn't too bad.
That
The
was
wetland standards
tame.
and wetland bylaws wasn't
That was
too
pretty
bad.
tame, everyone.
Pardon?
That was pretty tame.
Oh, thank you. It just, that's one of those nights I don't have to take ZQL.
Yeah.
Sorry, I mean this nicely. I sincerely do. But I want us to be in control of this in the nicest way also.
Sure. That's,
Yeah, I agree with you.
we're all on this
Wholeheartedly and
commission.
100%, Bob.
That's why we're all on this commission. Right. So,
And the second reason escapes me right now. There was another standard I thought, that another point that was worthy of becoming a standard.
oh, when some of it, going along with the no activity zone are the suggested ways of marking that off: split rail fence, some form of shrubbery or whatever. And then oftentimes too, if there's going to be pervious or impervious surfaces added to a property, we'll sometimes ask for dry wells, or if someone's got a pool that's close to a wetland, we ask them to truck the water off site. So those are the kinds of things we'll need to be specific about.
Looking back in my notes, I think the second thing was I wrote down, it was discretion of the board. That's what I have in my notes. 25-foot no activity zone, and then it says discretion
Right.
of the board.
Yeah, so if a situation comes up where it's just not possible to have that because the lot's too tight, we can say, okay, if they've put something at 15 or 20 feet, we can vote on that and say, okay, we'll accept the plans as presented, just because there's no other way to make it happen.
Do we want to put that in there, or do we want to address that at time of?
We can put it in there. There are the standards I saw from, I think it was Marion, have that in there.
Right.
At their discretion.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that may have been the second one, the pool standards.
Okay.
That was been coming up quite a bit.
Right.
And how you want to handle the discharge and the filling.
Yeah.
Are there any others that the commission wants me to draft up?
Nothing's bubbling to the surface.
No.
So we would only have two standards.
Well, it could be, we'll take a look again at what Marion has and see if that generates any other ideas.
Yeah, they had 4, I believe, and one of them was to get a third-party evaluation in the event that it was required for an independent party to.
Yeah, it had to do with who pays for it, but some of these things already are listed by state law. But
yeah, I did see that in the bylaws, template. There is a section for that.
Yeah. The fortunate thing for us is there are no major projects planned for town. We have no major highways running through that attracts all kinds of large developments. And that's usually the motivation for bylaws.
Right.
Because people see a threat to their resources. Right now, we can still go with having standards, working with our neighbors and engineers, and making it work that way.
I'll work with those two.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the standards. I think it would be easier for us to work with. And I really think that people and contractors and engineers in town will follow them for the most part, because they're going to have to deal with us in the future. It seems like we have the same engineers that we deal with for the most part, you know. I mean, given, you know, there's going to be a lot of solar projects going up, so we'll probably deal with different engineers, but I'm sure they're willing to work with us if we set these standards. And
yeah, it just, the standards are easier. There's no doubt about that, right?
Yeah, and it's good to have them.
But just two of them is kind of, you know, I'd like to be a little more meat on the bone.
Sure. Well, we can all give this some thought, and we'll definitely, let's all have, if there's anything we want to add to this, let's have it in writing and ready for the next meeting. And let's share it so we can all have it, but share it without discussing it so we don't break open meetings laws. It's just here, we're sharing it. And we'll talk about it at the meeting.
Yeah, to stay out of trouble for the open meeting law, just throw me a topic and then we can discuss it
exactly
at the next meeting.
Exactly.
But, yeah, just for the record too, I was reviewing the draft that Mary Lee sent me from the previous attempt. And it's basically just the MACC template, just in a different format with bullets.
Yeah. And I think that it was how much was different. And the other thing is, you know, it's just fee and fine structure.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't find that. I know she sent that. I just don't know where it went. But that should be in the bylaws as well.
I might be able to find it.
And we could actually do the standards, do the bylaws at a later time. And I think we can make, to Evelyn and Ryan's point, I think we can make them more reader friendly on the website, but, you know, have the formal version, but on the website, we can make it a little more, easily accessible and to understand without going through all the legal terminology. I think there's a way we can do that.
Bob, I got a question.
Sure.
Just to refresh my memory, because it's been a while, a little over a month. These standards, was that as a result of your conversation with the engineer? What's his name?
It was a recommendation that came up. Yeah.
Recommend, and then as a result of that, we all looked at those wetland standards in the town of Marion. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
And I did try to find other towns that had them. I couldn't find any others. There are plenty of lists of those who have bylaws, and it's like 150 maybe.
Okay.
Out of the 351 municipalities in this state.
Okay. All right. I remember looking at Marion's. It was they were concise. They were well done.
Yeah. And they've had them, I think, since 1995.
Okay.
Or thereabouts. Paul, anything else then?
Let me look at these notes here. Yeah, that was all I had on those minutes from the last meeting we had.
Okay.
Yeah, we keep on discussing the two formats. But a part of me says we need a formal one, and I like the standards one too. I agree. It is easy to read. It gets to the point. It just, you know, there were some disadvantages according to your write-up.
Also, some of it has to do with legal fees and legal process.
Right. Just, I don't know if there's enough CYA in the standards.
Well,
there is.
We have the state laws. You know, we have the, you know, what's been written and enforced by DEP. And that's served us well so far.
Right. I agree. I mean, the state sets the laws, and we're, you know, the bylaw's good if you want to play sheriff and you want to impose fines and fees. You know, I just feel like the standards are more of an honor system, and I think people would honor and respect our demands if we have them in writing, as opposed to going around and playing sheriff and, you know, throwing fines out to people. We're not, the town's not going to be developing that much. It's not like it's, you know, there's so much area that they're going to be, you know, new construction and industrializing our town. It's more just like the stuff that we're dealing with is demolition and rebuilding and you know, septic systems and, you know, sheds and pools and
right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna move to the next topic. I was hoping Marilee could join us on this, but I'll have to do it. She sent an email to me earlier today, and I'm going to have to read it to you without sharing. So PJ Keating had a meeting with Marilee and Pat Hannon and Kevin Gaspar yesterday, in which they expressed interest in cleaning out the stormwater basin in front. They said they would file an RDA with us, hopefully before 11 a.m. tomorrow. In the meantime, the last time they discharged stormwater through that basin, they exceeded their limits of the NPDES, which is the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System. I might have the S wrong, permit they have, which they informed us yesterday afternoon after the meeting. They intend to discharge again tomorrow at 10:30. Lawyers and Pat et al. Want me to issue an enforcement order today. She attached it. She wanted me to see it before bringing it over there, with hopes that we'll sign it. So I'm going to pull it up on the screen here once I actually go to the command to share screen.
A previous enforcement order was issued for the same location, correct?
But for a different reason, I believe.
Okay.
So, so this is, so it's listed as uncontrolled discharge of untreated stormwater and processing wastewater from an on-site detention basin into the Acushnet River through an unnamed tributary, causing adverse impacts to the Acushnet River resource area, land under the Acushnet River in the marsh area near the point where the unnamed tributary discharges into the river. The discharges from the detention basin exceed the allowable limits for total suspended solids in violation of the NIPD's permit issued by US EPA on or about September 12, 2007. Basin 1C, that's the one out in the west side of the property near the street, near Main, is not functioning properly, which is contributing to the discharge of untreated stormwater to the Acushnet River. So the findings, it's in a resource area in a buffer zone and is in violation of the Wetlands Protection Act, and that's Mass General Law 131, Section 40, and the regulations 310 Code of Mass Regulations. Because the activity is being conducted in the area subject to protection under those laws. So the order is the property owner, his agents, permittees, and all others shall immediately cease and desist from any activity affecting the buffer zone and or resource areas. Resource area alterations resulting from said activity shall be corrected and the resource areas return to their original condition. So we're asking them to cease and desist any further discharges of wastewater to the river until such time as PJ Keating has repaired Basin 1C and proven that all discharge water meets the limits set forth in PJ Keating's NIPD's permit. PJ Keating shall submit a restoration plan for, sorry about that. Where are we? For the marsh area inland under the Acushnet River adversely impacted by PJ Keating's unlawful discharges of waste. So that's what we're being asked to sign. In other words, we're saying don't dump until you fix the basin and ensure that you don't exceed the total suspended solids allowed in the permit you receive from EPA. And we know that They're still awaiting a reissue of that permit. But in the meantime, this is what we're being presented with. So I'm not sure I'd be able to answer too many questions on this, but I'll do my best if you have any.
Well, can you read Mary Lee's email that this was attached to?
Yes.
She made so. I guess they had. I'm not sure if there's any other.
She was going to send it to everybody because I said, "Yeah, go for it." She asked. So
my copy.
No, you did. Because I emailed back to her today at 1:52 and said yes, she can send it. So Everett says he got it. Did anybody else get it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Yep.
So she had a meeting with PJ Keating. I don't know who from PJ Keating was there, and Pat Hannon and Kevin Gaspar. And that meeting was yesterday. And PJ Keating expressed interest in cleaning out the stormwater basin in front. Guess that means 1C. They said they would file an RDA with us, hopefully before 11 tomorrow. In the meantime, the last time they discharged stormwater through that basin, they exceeded their limits of the NPDES permit they have, which they informed us yesterday afternoon after the meeting. So I guess they did a follow-up call to tell somebody about the last time they did a discharge there. And they intended discharge again tomorrow at 9:30. And the lawyers and Pat want me to issue and I'm guessing selectmen want me to issue an enforcement order today. And she wanted us to see it before she brings it over there with the hopes that we'll all sign it. Probably, well, it's too late to sign it now, but sign it tomorrow. And that way she can, bring it to PJ Keating. Did that answer your question, Paul?
Yeah.
All right. I got a comment. So there was an enforcement order issued on 1C, whether it be for that reason or another. And I remember looking back in my notes, I had seen that there was a large amount of silt on a turbidity curtain that was in that area. I'm pretty sure I went on record saying that there was silt over the silt boom and then on the vegetation in that area. And I think that went to court for whatever issue that was. I think we were told that we weren't allowed on the property across the street because the property owner didn't want us there or whatever the case may be. But I know for a fact that there has been recent dredging and they did a complete rehabilitation of pretty much the outfall of that pipe that they discharged through. So if they were going to file an RDA to clean up 1C, that's exactly what I had stated, like that it was filthy in there.
Yeah.
And they're going to, and they still want to discharge tomorrow through. That's
what I'm reading.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if that's the case, I've already made my decision.
No, that was the first enforcement order that they refused to accept. Isn't that correct? We ratified it. They came back to saying we refuse to accept this.
So they're right there. That's the one they're fighting in court.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I agree with Ryan. We all went and saw Basin 1C on that Saturday morning. Is that correct?
Yes.
It was on the west side, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right on South Main.
Right on South Main. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This sounds like things are going. They're doing things backwards.
Right.
Well, I just don't understand why they're going to file an RDA to do work there and then just discharge right through that same area. That don't make sense.
And the other issue is if they're going to discharge, they have to ensure that they're not going to exceed their total suspended solids based on the permit they have.
Right.
And which, by the way, is done with a PJ Keating rep. They measure that themselves.
So,
Yeah, that's right, Paul. Yeah.
Right. Well, not only that is their permit is still I don't know, in limbo. Is that because the DEP is, you know, COVID, whatever is going on?
it's EPA, and yeah, they've just been delayed in getting a response. It's primarily a person power and timing issue more than anything else, it seems. Yeah, so, you know, this is another one of those cases, you know what, I'm willing to let the lawyers fight it out.
I think there was also evidence on the website, at least information, that they have violated the total suspended solid limits in the past.
Yeah.
Right, and that was
Yep.
the cause for them going for a renewal, and also the fine that they paid. So I'll go one by one. Unless there's further discussion, I'll go one by one.
No.
To say yes or no if you accept this enforcement order. So Richard, I see you on the screen first.
Yes.
Okay. Paul?
I accept the enforcement order for a reason stated.
Yep.
Ryan?
Yes.
Evelyn?
Yes.
Everett?
Yes.
That's unanimous. Okay, thank you all.
I have one suggestion.
Please.
So that all the T's and all the spelling is correct on the order before we sign it.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Thank you. Okay.
What did Everett comment?
There was some misspellings on there, like Acushnet, and there was a PK Keating on there.
Yeah, instead of PJ.
A couple of things, little things like that. So, all right, that's all I have on my agenda. The next item would have been agent updates, but we don't have our agent with us. So, next item, does anybody else have business for the commission?
There was a town resident that came to me about some activity happening at or near 301 Perry Hill.
Okay.
So he had some questions about if there was any filings there for a driveway that's being started.
Okay, that's
for a proposed what they believe to be a 6-lot parcel.
That's something Merrill Lee would probably have to answer, unless, Joanne, you've seen a filing for something like that show up?
I have not seen any filings here yet.
Okay. So Paul, Merrill Lee would have to answer that for you.
I just want to put on record so that we can get some more information on that.
Sure. Okay. Any other business for the commission?
I got a colleague that's on the Fairhaven Conservation Commission, and he just made note that the MACC came out with a new buffer zone guidebook. Maybe that's something Mary Lee wants to look into. I don't know if it's a binder or a book or whatever it may be. I don't know if anything's changed or whatever. You know, that's something for Mary Lee. But go on record saying that MACC came out with a new buffer zone guidebook. If there's a copy in the office or something
yeah, it's
like that.
probably on their website.
Right.
They tend to be good about those kinds of things. Okay. My only further business for the commission is to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and to let you know our next meeting is scheduled for December 8th at 6 p.m. And with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Everett. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ryan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 7:03.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Good night.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.